Welcome back to our Dream in the Woods. Today, getting going on doing some metal work, trying to get that skirt up on the eave ends. So I have one kind of simple side that's 60 feet that doesn't have any protrusions through it, and then the east side, it has a door and then several different things that are in the way of that metal going up efficiently. So anyway, I got to reteach myself how to do metal work. It comes back easier every time, but every time there's just a little learning curve on trying to figure that out. So Eric's continuing on electrical. I have my father-in-law Dean out here, and my nephew, Dina's son Hunter's out here helping. So we got a little crew helping, and we're gonna hit it. Primarily, I've just been focusing on what I've been doing, but in the background, Eric's been working hard. So if you have some electrical questions of how we're doing things, let me know and I'll put it in a future video. But just focusing on metal work and trying to get the outside buttoned up is what my goal is. So anyway, let's get to it. Just getting going on the metal work, trying to lay things out, figure out what all my pieces are. This is the bottom piece, and made that extra wide. That's 3 inches wide because we're going to have it dip below the concrete an inch. Laying out my corners, I just cut some of the Z trim, which is this stuff here, and this is my corner piece. So I just want to know where my spacing is. Looks like I'm going to do about 5/8 of an inch. That'll get some rivets on it, but we made that too tight before, and it kind of like makes that buckle a little bit. So I think having more space there makes it neater. So, and then try to figure out all my other pieces. Nothing can be that straightforward. So this is the custom piece. It has a 3-inch flange here because we wanted that to drop down below sheeting an inch. So you kind of see that inch here. But then the other piece on the gable end, well, it's just a regular piece, and it needs to sit on top of the concrete to flash out and away over the top of that. So a little step there, which I'll have to deal with when I put the corner piece on. Of course, all I'm thinking about is bees nests and stuff, so I want to seal everything up so there's no access to those voids behind there. So anyway, but it's happening. First piece up, we're gonna slip the next piece underneath that plastic board and keep going down the line. This is the line of many things to go around. The other side should be a lot simpler. Continuing on with some metal here. Of course, nothing's that simple. I worked on that. I had to put a spacer in there. That's about a 5/8 spacer to get the metal trim to sit flat there and shed water to the outside of that concrete. This is kind of a protected corner, but still had to do it that way, or it's the only way I could think of doing it. So I got everything punched. Beth's gonna come out, see if we can get this bottom trim on, and then figure out that far corner there. Hopefully it's not as complicated as this one is. This is kind of what this corner here looks like. Nice smooth side, no protrusions. Yeah, should go pretty smooth.
How's it going?
Good. Progress. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
I got the base on here, base on this side. I still have some base on the eaves, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And in fact, there's a problem. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Concrete comes out there. Yeah, don't know about that. That's all going to get covered with the porch, but it's not going to be covered this winter. So anyway, it's more to think about there. So next thing, this door is a question mark. I don't really know what to do. I'm going to seek counsel for that. Eric will be here tomorrow. Dane will be here tomorrow. So run it by them. But what I can do is go around all these protrusions here, water faucet, gas line, dryer vent, and then the water for the sprinkler system. So I got lots of pieces. Let me show you what's next. All right, all kinds of different trim pieces here. But the sides of those protrusions get a J channel. So looks like a J. Goes in there. Screws on that one there. Metal siding goes in that. The top, I'm just gonna flash, and so it'll get a piece that comes out and then overhangs with an angle down. Then I got some Z trim, because it kind of makes a Z or an S. Start using these. These are new pieces. I'll show you what those are all about. These are the top that go on the top of the panels, and these are the corners. So I think I've kind of identified everything. This is more of the J trim. I have extra because that bottom trim we had made special after I'd already bought some of the regular stuff. So that's because I wanted to go down below the zip sheathing about an inch. So make sure everything gets past that seam and the concrete. So anyway, let's put up some more trim. Okay, so this is the prototype. What it's gonna look like. I just made that piece. So little tabs there, fit on there, go on the outside. I'll put a little caulk in the back of that. And this piece will get painted black. Might have been easier to do that before I put it on there, but I didn't. But I think that's what it's going to look like. And then the panel will slide into another piece of trim there that'll keep it nice and tight there. So that's the idea. I think it's good. Okay, working on the corner trim, and so I just mocked up a corner with the two Z trims, and to get this measurement in here, so I got 5/8, and so then I put my first one up. So there's the two Z trims in the corner there. I still have to notch out down below to let it drop down in there, but that confirms my spacing is correct, and then it'll get a couple rivets on each Z trim when it's done. So far so good. So then I have both corners up on this west wall. So the next thing I need to do is figure out my spacing. You don't really want to end on a joint, on a rib. So I just need to do some figuring there. Okay, first piece installed. So there's actually a piece of little trim there that the panel slides into, so that keeps it nice and secure. That's an improvement from before. And then we just want to make sure that those are nice and plumb as we go, and we'll be just checking that as we go, but it's go time. And the sun's swinging around, so we're in the shade, so we want to get as much done before the sun hits us. Okay, we're about ready to tie this wall in for the last piece. So this is the trim that goes in there, and then that slit right there is where that loose side will go in there and be secure, and then it'll pop into this joint here. So yeah, going good. All the prep work makes this part go fast. Okay, so here's the piece we cut. So it should slide underneath there. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, I guess it'll move over when we pound it in. It'll pop over into that thing, so yeah. And continuing to make some progress here. This window is lower than the rest of them because that's an egress window, and it had to be a little bigger and lower to the ground. So that trim piece is going to be interesting. And then after talking about this, I just trimmed this out, and we'll make the wood trim to match. So anyway, there's more to come on that, of course, when I trim that out. But those little pieces on the inside look pretty good. It does leave a white band, but I don't know, I'm gonna be okay with that. And then I've gotten to the point where I'm going around these protrusions. We did some measuring, and this rib we don't want that to end in the middle, so I think we measured it to where the rib is not gonna end in the middle. And so I'm basically cutting a segment out of each panel that I need to do that with. So I'm using that same trim in there, and then you pop it in here and then pound it down. And that first piece went good. I do need to put some caulk in there, some black caulk, and I think it'll be just fine. Talk about these panels real quick. So I thought that when I had the roofing panels made, I would go ahead and have these made at the same time, and I think that would have been fine, except we decided to move them up into Dean and Linda's shop, and they've shifted and unstacked and such, and so some of them have been scratched, so you can kind of see that pile's cattywampus there. So some of these have some scratches on them. We saved all the good ones for the west side where the driveway is going to be, and this side we're just gonna have to touch them up with paint where there's some scratch marks. So little tip, don't move them, get ready to put them on and then put them up, and I think you'd be better off. And this is an example of scratch marks, so just put a little touch-up paint there, should be fine. Sometimes you come home from working and not all the wildlife is wild. Someone's horse. Worked my way down. We measured out the spacing, and this one was a little short, but it worked. And then nice spacing there. So Dean's been helping me, father-in-law, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, working on top trim. This is my first corner here. Turned out pretty decent. Plan on having a 1-inch board kind of come down and through there, so that's why that's notched out the way it is. My line looks pretty decent, enough to be happy with it. I'm hemming, I think is what they call it, the joints here, and I'll show you what that's about. Kind of learning, this is my learning side, so I'll show a little more of what I'm doing on this side. Kind of waiting for it to get shady over there. In the meantime, I'm gonna do this little short wall here. This window here, I don't know, just a little tough, so I cut the piece down. I'm gonna install it first. I put some caulk up in the corner, and then I'm just gonna fasten it by a couple of external screws that will be visible. I don't really know else to do that. That will not get any piece of wood or anything like that down there. So I brought the laser out last night, lasered everything, so we should have good lines to go off of. Well, there ended up being less room in there than I thought because I needed to raise it up to my laser line, so I ended up having cut more than I wanted out of there. And then I didn't put nearly enough caulk in there to really make a difference. So I don't know, maybe I can get in there with a thin caulk and caulk that joint up. I don't know, but I don't think I'm going to put any screws in there. It still seems like it's secured fine. So I'm on to this corner one, and don't think I came up with this myself. R&R Builders is where I got this from. So you make a line at the edge of your piece there, then you measure the distance right here, make another line, same distance out here, make a line, and then make a 45 down to there. They are fancy and they can cut it all right here, but I'm going to take it off, cut it, and then come over here, reattach it with a screw, bend it over, and then I'll work at this termination over here after that's done. So I'm more of a multi-step process instead of doing it all one fancy step. But the other one turned out all right, so this one should too. Okay, so that's all the cuts out of there. And then I snipped right there at that line. So now should be able to go on top of that. And that's it. Looks pretty tight. And so now I'll mark out where I want to cut here. And then I make sure that that's level. Put some caulk in different spots and get her installed. All right, prepping this top trim. First thing I do is I just open up that hem a little bit so it can slide into the next piece. And then on the other side, I just measure down 3 inches and just kind of cut that at an angle. And then cut that piece off of there. So then it'll slide on there. And then I have it measured out every 16 inches with a little mark on this board, and so I punch some holes. Easy, easy. Well, I think the line turned out pretty good. Maybe hard to tell, but yeah, there's a little bow in the building. I can see that. But line, as far as being level, looks pretty decent. Happy with this. A couple of little things I need to do on it. I need to put some rivets in those corner pieces. And then I'm gonna flash tape that top trim piece to the zip, just to make sure all water that comes from above gets on that upper trim. But other than that, this panels need to be washed, but not sure when that's going to happen. Not for a while, I guess. So anyway, good project done. I'm not sure what the deal is, but I got lots of extra panels. I don't know if we had miscommunication at IBEX or what the deal is, but I probably have another for a whole nother side, another 60 feet. And then quite a bit of trim pieces too. So I think we got our communications down wrong, but that was like 10 months ago, so it's not like I can do anything about that. At least I had enough. A little update on electrical. Eric, Hunter, and Dean have all been pulling lots of wire. I think all the smoke detectors are in. I don't know. It's a lot of work. So thankful for that. You can see all the lighting coils up there for all the different kinds of lights. Lighting coils. So we kind of have everything planned out pretty well. So I'm not sure what percentage we're done on wiring, but I would say we have the garage to do, that furnace room to put a little bit of wire in, some exterior lights on the north end, and would be ready to move upstairs. So, and then the other thing we have to do is then splice all these junction boxes before roughing is ready. It's about 88 degrees out here, 89 degrees, about 7 o'clock. So it's been a hot day. Last 2 days, especially in the 80s, actually all 3 days in the 80s, working out here. So it just makes you go a little slower, but we're still getting stuff done. And I know I'm not any kind of a professional metal person, and it takes me probably 3 times as long as a real person, but I feel pretty good about that job. I think it looks decent, or good. So not excellent, but all of the above. So anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. I'm in putting board and bat up. All the exterior cladding is my next focus. I got a little more prep to do that. I got to flash that a ledger board that I just put up last weekend. But other than that, no, switching to getting out of metal and getting into the board and bat siding. So I'll be looking for that. The faucet material should be done any day, and I'll get that back on site and put that up at the same time. So just trying to get everything on the outside near completion. So that's my goal. Eric's working inside on electrical. So anyway, lots to do. It's already mid-August. It's full on summer, and we've got to get after it. So appreciate everyone watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Have a good evening, night, or wherever this video finds you. Thank you for watching.